Hello there, it's Lisa Starr with the StarrCast Podcast, where we speak to today's wellness warriors and talk about their history. We have a guest today who's got a very interesting journey when you think about beginning in nursing in the medical field and flash forward to standing on a stage in front of 3,000 people as president of the ISPA Association and many other stops in between. I'd love to welcome Michael Tompkins, current CEO of Hutchinson Consulting. Sorry, welcome, Michael.
Hi, thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Well, it's my pleasure as well. And hopefully for our listeners, because Michael has been all over the wellness world. So I thought, Michael, we'd go back to, your teen years. Like, what did you think your career path would be? And let's figure out how you got to where you are now.
Well, it was a far cry from where I thought I was going to be. I started out, I was one of those typical college kids who bounced around.
Mhm.
And I went to college early, actually, at age 15, before I had actually graduated from high school. And so I started my degree in accounting because that's what my friend's dad did. And they seemed to have a much better life than we had in my family. And so I thought, well, I'll go and be an accountant. And so accounting was not for me because ultimately I'm a people person. And so I went from accounting to banking to finance to finally getting my degree in business administration. And then I waited a few more months and then graduated from high school and then decided to go on for the next part of my college career and went down south for a major in hospital administration. And I did that for all the semesters right up until the last quarter when I was supposed to graduate. And my advisor said to me, hey, there's not a hospital in this country that's going to hire an 18-year-old administrator. And so are you
Probably
going
a good observation.
True. And so he said, are you going to go into for your master's degree or what are you going to do? And so I said, no, I didn't really have any interest. And I was a little taken back by that and a bit of a rebel when I was 18 and I quit school. And so I went back home and went to the local community college, and I had taken a number of all the courses that they offered. But at the time, it was 1987, and they said to me, hey, we have scholarships for nurses if you want to become an RN. And so I actually got paid to go to nursing school. And in my class, in nursing class, there was only 3 men.
Wow.
And so when you think about how many men there are in the field now, I literally was sort of at the forefront of males in the nursing profession.
That's very true. I can recall that when men just started to, there was that old thing of the men were doctors and the women were nurses. And luckily that's changed greatly since then. But you found yourself at the vanguard already.
Yeah, it was. And it was, sadly, still, I don't know whether you want to say, a male-dominated field, even though it was all women. And so immediately I was put into a supervisory role as an RN and didn't know a thing. And so
you think this was because you were a guy?
I know it was. And it was really, for me, baptism by fire. And so I had to step in and at 21 years old, mind you, RN, and all of a sudden lead a group of people. And
with very little training, right? I mean, you don't get in medical school leadership and business organization training. Yeah,
nothing. So thankfully, I had gone to school for business administration, and so I had some, managerial, training in my collegiate space before I, went to nursing school. And so, it really started a career of being blessed by women mentors, and I think that has been an incredible journey for me in so many ways. And, had I not had the nursing director that, sort of took me under her wing and said, you can be this supervisor and you can do all of these things and be a leader, I would never have been as successful as I was in nursing.
Well, luckily that she was there and she saw those leadership qualities in you already.
I was really blessed to know her. And, while I haven't seen her in over 30 years, we still communicate,
That's
at
nice.
least a few times a year on Facebook. And so, I'm blessed with that. And shortly after nursing, well, I was in nursing for almost for 13 years, all in administrative positions. And I was fortunate that, well, first of all, no, I was the insurance industry changed healthcare, and it became managed care in the early 90s, or late 90s, as I'm sure you know. Sorry, late 90s, where it was going to be the answer to all of the problems in healthcare, which have still not been solved. And what it did was managed care took nurses off of the patient care, and everything was, you had to bill for every single thing with a sticker. And back then we didn't have barcode systems where you could just scan. So it was all done manually. So I was spending all of my time
putting stickers on
stickers on every single patient, and then having to manually add those up in order to bill the patient the proper amounts. And managed care failed. But in the meantime, I became disillusioned by it and decided to leave. And it was then I really took stock of what I wanted to do in life. At the time, I worked part-time as a fitness instructor at a local gym, and I was in great shape. And I said, well, maybe I should work with healthy people. And the only place that I could find in my immediate area in upstate New York was Canyon Ranch. And so I applied for their nursing director position and was interviewed by Christine Huffman, who is now my business partner at Hutchinson Consulting. And Christine said, I'm going to hire you as nursing director, and you will take my position within a year. And I thought she was kidding, and she wasn't. And for sure, Canyon Ranch was a great entry into the wellness space. I couldn't have asked for a better place to be educated on health and wellness. And again, got blessed by another female mentor.
So you come from this medical nursing stickers, sort of the whole bureaucracy background, and here you go into Canyon Ranch. Do you recall, Michael, what some of your observations were in the first year about how it was different in that environment?
Yes, completely. So first of all, insurance did not reimburse for preventative medicine, and they don't reimburse for much of it now. And so it was a cash pay only. So, at the time, really the affluent traveler could afford medical care in a resort setting. Now, pretty much, I really believe that everybody can find wellness with really good care, even up to medical, and an affordable price out there somewhere. But back then it was a luxury. And I was blessed with two medical directors that were just incredible gentlemen, Mark Hyman, who has gone on to great fame, and Mark Laponis, both of whom were really starting out in their careers in preventative medicine as well, with having both been in emergency medicine for a long time, and Christine being my supervisor. And so there was a glitch in the medical system at the time, and they said, hey, if you can find what's wrong, we'll promote you. And I, with my administrative background and investigative mind, I started digging in and found the issue quite quickly, and then helped grow their medical practice considerably. And I was promoted to assistant health and healing director, and then had all of the departments under me, like exercise phys and nutrition and movement therapy and behavioral therapy, and all the modalities that sort of make up a true total person, from a care aspect. All the pillars that everybody talks about needs all of these departments under them. And it was shortly thereafter that Christine became a behavioral therapist, and I was then promoted to health and healing director. And when I was promoted to health and healing director, there was a department that reported to me, in addition to all the others, called neuromuscular therapy. And I sat down with them, in my first department meeting, and they said to me, we get that you can lead all of these health departments, and your background and training is in that, but we're massage therapists, and we're a bit different. And they said, we're not sure how much you know about massage and how, you can relate to what we do. And I really thought about it long and hard. And I said, you're right. And so I went to massage school and I went to a college program. So I actually have an associate's degree in massage therapy.
Michael, how many people would apply themselves that way in their work? I mean,
well, back then and like now, actually, the Berkshires is a mecca for spas, wellness centers, and massage. And so I went to massage school at Berkshire Community College at night after Canyon Ranch, and then did all of my clinicals at Kripalu, because I
nice.
wasn't a manager there, and Kripalu was right down the road. And I mean, to get an education in preventative medicine and wellness from Canyon Ranch, really, and then to get a massage education from being able to be with the yogis at Kripalu was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's like the ultimate. So you got quite an education for yourself.
I did. I loved it.
What did you learn from the massage aspect? How did it change your behavior or feelings as an administrator or manager after you learned massage?
I say that I never really learned touch until I was 32 years old and in massage school. I wanted to get some certifications outside of the standard Swedish massage. And so I went to Upledger Institute for Neuromuscular Therapy.
That's
and during that training, it wasn't clicking. I couldn't feel what everybody else was feeling. And then I had somebody work on me, and ultimately I got sucked into it. And it was like an unraveling of all the stress in my body that I had carried for my whole life. It was very emotional. And I was in an auditorium with 800 people on a massage table in tears. And I ended up leaving that first day and going back to the hotel room, and had a conversation with the instructor of, do I want to continue or not? And I decided to go back the next day.
That was brave of you.
Yeah, I really, it was a leap of faith, because, I had a traumatic childhood, and sort of everything unraveled on that table that day. And so I went back to my second day of training. And the first time I put my hands on somebody, I instantly went into their body in a neuromuscular, in a craniosacral sort of way. And so all of a sudden, my sense of touch was different. And I learned energy fields, and I learned, that sometimes in health, it's beyond what we all think is going to be able to be a healing aspect. And, for the few months after, John, who's my husband, we would be out at places, and he'd say, "Oh, put your hands on them and tell them where there's a problem in their body." And I was like a party trick. And I could do that to this day. And as I continue to sort of place my hands on people, intuition and sometimes visions would come forward. And then that opened me up to a whole new metaphysical realm of why and how is this coming to me. But later on, when I became CEO at Miraval, I really wanted all of our guests to experience those metaphysical things, because, I know them to be true in my own heart and my own mind. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's who I am. And I don't have any tricks, and I don't follow anybody on Facebook to find out what's going on in their life. It's just that when I'm in that healing aspect and using my heart, as most massage therapists do in the work that they do, that is conveying healing through their heart and using their hands, it just enables me to touch in and click into people in a way that most can't.
Well, I'm impressed by how that first day you were like the onion, right? They peeled back the layers and opened your emotions up, and many people would run screaming from that experience. I mean, it's something that we all want, but you want to ease into it, right? It's not like, but you sound like you crossed a threshold and there was no going back after that.
There was no going back, and I wanted more and more. And ultimately, I had done everything there was to do at Canyon Ranch. I think from my perspective, I had been promoted several times, associate managing director, corporate director of programming. And I had an opportunity at Turning Stone with the Oneida Indian Nation to build a spa there and components of wellness within a casino model, which, even to this day, people would probably laugh at. But if you see Skana Spa, which was my
I've
concept.
been to that spa. It's lovely.
I opened that hotel and built that spa. And, one of the things that I learned in that aspect was the principles of Native American healing, because the head of the clan there, the Indian chief, so to speak, representative of the nation, had asked me to incorporate all the aspects of Native Americans. And so I literally went to the Grand Tetons. I did a sweat lodge experience with the Lakota Sioux tribe.
Oh, fun education there.
It was. And not only that, I was, when I was on the Lakota Sioux reservation, I was told that I was only the second white man to do a true Native American sweat. And I mean, there was, I think, 32 people in that very small sweat lodge, including children. And, at the time, I didn't know what to expect. I did know that there would be peyote and all of those other things. And I learned things about pine and strawberry and lemon and all of the things that the Oneida culture really had a foundation in the use of the land and natural resources to be able to bring about healing from plants and the earth. And so that really spun me in a new direction. And people don't necessarily equate natural health, I would think, with an Indian-owned casino. And so the juxtaposition for that was very challenging, but ultimately it was a success, and so successful that Miraval called, and then I moved on to Miraval.
Well, you had great timing in that. I think that was right around when we really did start to look to ancient cultures and their practices, from TCM to Ayurveda to Native American, because they had nothing else. And those healing rituals work, they worked for them. And so why not incorporate that into the modern day? So here you are, a walking example of Eastern and Western, united in your training. So great for you. And so then you head off to the desert Southwest for Miraval. And you were stationed there for how long?
I was at Miraval for a little over 8 years. And, there, I think it's a combination of Turning Stone, which at the time was a $660 million build. I did several hotels, event centers, restaurants, museums, golf, tennis domes, a heliport.
Not many people can say they built a heliport.
Yeah, so which was a lot, trust me, with the FAA. I mean, there's so many rules. And so, and then I went into the desert where we were building rammed earth luxury homes. And, so talk about sustainability. It was literally baptism by fire and sustainability on the very first day, with trying to not only build rammed earth buildings for the staff, but also homes and new hotel rooms made out of that product, which really at the time was cutting edge. And then also to build a water reclamation plant as well on property. And so I was blessed to have been given CLODA for that.
Lucky you.
And
for those of our listeners who don't know, CLODA is an esteemed architect of many spaces, but especially spa, wellness, and hospitality.
Yeah, and so the CLODA changed the way I see. And so with all of the things that were going on at Miraval, it was a tremendous innovation during the time I was there. We sold out all of the homes in the height of the downturn of the economy in 2008 without a price reduction.
That's remarkable.
So it was actually the only luxury real estate product in America that did. And so all of a sudden, like, Bloomberg wanted to talk to me, and Wall Street Journal wanted to talk to me, and everybody wanted a piece of why is this so successful? What's the magic? But I want to get back to Clodagh, because all of the spaces, and then eventually the new spa that I built for Miraval there in Tucson, she told me that every single plane you look at visually, you don't look at what's in front of you. You look at what's in front of you, then 3 feet in front of that, then 3 feet in front of that, then all the way to the horizon. That you want to make sure that the visual of what you create is beautiful through the entire eyescape for your vision. And it really, when I think about my ability to become a CEO and look from an umbrella strategy, I had a great mentor in Philippe Bourguignon, of course, who runs Revolution Places and the former chairman of Davos. But in actuality, Philippe taught me the business aspects of it. But in order to get the vision, I really learned it from Clodagh. And to this day, I give her credit for that.
That's wonderful. I mean, we would all love to have the opportunities that you've had and the mentors that you've had to learn. So you left Miraval to go to the Midwest, correct?
No, I left Miraval to go to Hilton Head Health as CEO of Hilton Head Health. At the time, I was overweight, probably the heaviest I had been, because I had helped execute the sale of Miraval. And so that was about 1.5 years worth of due diligence. And it was difficult. And so when I left Miraval, I started at Hilton Head Health, which, had the moniker of a fat farm. And so I loved it. And in all actuality, it was my favorite job. In the couple of years that I was there, I got down to my high school weight. It was very easy for me. I engaged Jane Segerberg, who I had worked with at Scana, and she and I built Indigo Spa, which Indigo Spa was a concept based off of Low Country in South Carolina. And I absolutely enjoyed that job so much. And that was the third best new US spa that I had built. And so I was very proud of that. I loved the concept of that. I helped reposition Hilton Head, and then it was sold. And at that time, I decided to open a consulting company and started to work with Palm Health, the physicians at Palm Health.
That's what I was thinking of, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a modern health model. Tell us briefly about that.
Sure. Palm Health is a community center. The acronym is Personalized Advanced Lifestyle Medicine. And it's all under one roof. It's about 20,000 square feet. It incorporates a medical practice, a concierge medical practice with about 7 physicians. Then it also has a full-time gym, probably 40 fitness classes a week, a healthy cafe, a hyperbaric oxygen chambers that are coming, salt chamber, infrared saunas, color therapy, steam rooms, cryotherapy, IV infusions, and then medical rehab and medical labs. And it was really a success immediately. I did become a CEO of that brand for 2 years. I helped raise the capital for that project. And to this day, we remain with them, all of my partners and I, on a consulting level. And then we have also overseen all of my business partner, Carol, has overseen their marketing from a strategy perspective for the last 5 years. It's a very successful product.
Oh, and that was very cutting edge as well. I mean, there were very few examples of that combination of modalities at the time.
Yeah, 5 years ago for sure. And, Lauren Munch, who is the cardiologist entrepreneur, has an incredible mind. And I know that more things are coming from Palm that are really exciting. And so that was in my own hometown. So it was really the first time where I had already moved someplace and then got a job rather than moving to a place around because of a job. Yeah. So we were in St. Louis for 8 years. Once Palm was launched, I really didn't see a reason for staying, quite honestly, because I had already done that. Actually, I'd done that at Canyon Ranch, 20 years or 25 years ago. And so I decided that instead of trying to recreate or live what I used to do, that I would go and do something else. And it was that time that Lori Hutchinson was terminal. Right. And she called me and she said, Michael, I think you need to be the face of this brand. We need somebody who can go out there like me and shake hands and smile and talk to people. And you have a great connection. And so would you do it? And I said no. I thanked her and I said no. And Lori had gotten me the Miraval job, and Lori had gotten me the Turning Stone job, and Lori, has given me her company, quite honestly. And when I say give, I don't mean give. We actually purchased the company, but for all intents purposes, she really said
she chose you.
She chose me, and she called me Sunday in February, and she said, I'm going to come back to you and just say, I think you're the person. And I said, you know what, Lori, I'll do it. And sadly, she passed 4 days later. It still hits me emotionally. And I've remained very close with her husband and her children. And we have not lost anybody at Hutchinson. And I'm very blessed that my business partners, Carol and Christine, and I have grown the company to more people and reaching more areas, particularly in medical and wellness and senior living.
Well, once again, you're at the vanguard because those worlds are colliding: wellness, medical health. You have all the knowledge and all the contacts. So tell us, Michael, what you see in the next 5 years as these industries continue to converge.
Yeah, I see a blending of living communities that offer wellness in a total 360 way in a place where you live, and that it will be intergenerational, that we won't be putting people in nursing homes and putting people, the senior living, when, we're building a project called WellPoint in Huntsville, Alabama, and it's a place that's great for everybody. And, when I say 6 months to 105 years old, I literally mean that. Palm does it on a community level. This is going to be in a living, on a living aspect. And so there'll be, a spa, and there'll be medical, and there'll be a pharmacy, and there'll be fitness, and there's going to be a shared workspace and an innovation center and places where you can live, and there'll be a hotel for transient people and coming in and out. And it's a model that's a fluid community model that I think is appealing to everyone. And having been in the senior realm now, there's a great deal of change that needs to happen there as well, right down to the name. In Europe, they call it later living, which I actually like, but here in the States, they're trying to move it to, older people.
Right. Older. I remember that discussion, right? They were asked what they wanted to be called, and that's what they agreed on, right?
Yeah. So, it's been a great fit for us because there are college curriculums that are also moving in this direction. I have worked with the Northern Arizona University in their H2H initiative, which is hospitality to healthcare. And that is taking hospitality people and moving them and shifting them over into the healthcare model. And there have been very successful examples of that. Carl Pratt, who was, at Canyon Ranch for so long and then vice president at Miraval, is now general manager for a senior living complex in Tucson. Dr. Aris Ericol, who worked for me, he was an intern with me at Canyon Ranch in the beginning, then worked for me at Miraval, then went back to Canyon Ranch, is now the director of wellness programming for Watermark. Glenn Colarossi, who we all know from fitness, is now a GM at a senior living center in the Mid-Atlantic. There are many examples. And from what I understand, the job is the same. It translates. It's all taking care of people. It's a service industry. And what we lack sometimes in the stability of roles, particularly when the economy tanks. Okay. And we have two examples of that in the last 12 years. Okay. That have been devastating to hospitality, where during those two times, the medical, senior living, nursing care realm expanded and continues to expand even during the downturn. So they're very safe jobs. And when I'm talking about the senior living, I'm not talking about nursing homes. I'm not talking about skilled care. I'm talking about homes that you and I would want to live at.
Right. No, what you described sounds great. I would love to have my community laid out for me.
And I just recently moved to a wellness-based community in northern Georgia. It's called Big Canoe. And we are in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And trust me, there's no more nature than is right outside my door, with bald eagles out the window and bear running around and all kinds of crazy stuff. But with COVID, we haven't been able to do the normal programming that they do, but I've been able to walk and hike and do anything on the lake. And already I'm having a much healthier life and lifestyle and less stress. Just being in nature and just spending more time outside. And so we're just opening up the fitness center and all the indoor things and here, but very safely, because it's an older aged population. And I'm excited for what's to come this following year.
Well, we're excited to hear about it. I know that we will look to you for what's coming next, because you always seem to be just a step ahead of everyone else. So thank you again for joining us. I have one last quick question, Michael. What are you reading right now?
I am reading, oh my gosh, I have it upstairs.
I know that feeling, too many books by my bed.
The Art of Motorcycle something.
Oh, The Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
Zen yes, and the Art of I'm reading The Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and I'm reading Chip Conley's new book. Okay. I had spent some time with Chip Conley a while back, and I really find him to be an incredible thinker. And, while some of his books haven't resonated with me, this new one is. So
good to hear. Yeah. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is definitely a classic. And we can discuss it the next time I see you, which I hope is soon. Michael, thank you again for joining us today on StarrCast.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a great day.
You too.